right. Well, thank you for being here today. We have a lot going on in this class. Michael, I don't know if you watched the meeting from last night or not.
Yes, I did.
Okay. I wasn't prepared last night. I knew that our meeting was until noon, so I didn't read the case last night. I'm like, oh, I can do that Thursday morning. Now I know. For Wednesday night, if I want to be there at the meeting, I probably should read the case. So just a warning to you guys. If you go, read something, because he's going to ask you to talk, even if you don't want to. I was thinking that maybe we could just kind of go over our little agenda. I don't know if you got my email, Michael. I sent out a...
Yes, I got it.
Okay, so let's look at that really quick and make the changes that we need to make. Oops, wrong one. Because Elisa already told me of... Oh, no. My little... What is that thing? The colorful ball starts spinning? Then I know.
The color wheel of death.
Yeah.
Yes, that thing.
It's
Yeah.
an intimidating name.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess I was thinking, since I was starting this week, that I would just be in charge of paper 1, and Elisa paper 2, and Michael paper 3. And I promise, I didn't realize until after I started typing. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Thanksgiving week. That's awful that we have to do a paper. So somebody suggested on our, it's not a Hangout, what's that other thing called? Our Google Plus community. When I mentioned it, they said, well, maybe we can talk to him and maybe he'll change the due date. So it's not due on Monday morning, right after the Thanksgiving weekend. So maybe if we all ask nicely, we can change that to Wednesday or something, give a little more time on that one. But so as far as the dates and assignments on these, are you guys okay with these? Elisa, it was October 27th that you did not want to be the group leader?
Yeah, if we could change it to another day, I wouldn't mind being the group leader, but from that Wednesday night until Sunday, I'm out of town, and so I can probably participate, but it would be hard for me to initiate it and have all my stuff out to...
Right.
Well,
Well,
do you want to switch me that week? Those two?
Okay, that'd be great.
or would it be better for you if we did it Wednesday before you leave, or is that kind of stressful because you're leaving?
Everything's stressful right now, so I don't know that that's going to make a big difference. I wouldn't mind doing it on a Wednesday early that day, or even Tuesday if you guys wanted to do that, or I can switch and hope to be in a place I can catch a phone call and talk to you. So,
Well, Michael, would it work for you if we just switch it to
Switching's fine with me.
Wednesday?
or even Tuesday. I don't know if that would be better, or is that not good for both of you?
I could probably make it work. Wednesday is better for me, but
Yeah, I should be able to do it. Do you want to do like this same time on Tuesday, like noon? Well, noon for me, 1 for you. Michael, are you on noon right now or 1?
it's 1 for me.
1, okay. So should
you guys pick. I have to leave for the airport at 3, and so at 2. So really earlier in the day on Wednesday, or else Tuesday at the same time would be
Maybe
fine.
Tuesday.
Well, let's do Tuesday then.
You guys can
Okay.
do that.
So I'm going
Thank
to
you.
change that on the document to the 25th, Tuesday instead of Thursday. And then, yeah, because I was trying to keep it, and we'll have to change things up a little, so that when we're the group leader, we have to do a group leader assignment. So it would be really nice if we don't have to do that assignment at the same time while we're writing a paper. So for instance, like I have an assignment today, and I'll do the paper at the end of week 5, but I won't have to worry during week 5 about a group leader assignment, because Michael will be the group leader that week. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that was it looks great to me otherwise, so that's great.
Except
Thank you for
when we
putting
get
together this calendar.
Yeah.
when we get to the third paper, it's messed up because Michael is the group leader during week 11, and he is the paper writer week 11. So I can change that time, like, so that you won't have to do both. Would you?
I'm not worried about it.
If you're not worried about it, I'll let you do it all. But I just I would be overwhelmed.
I'm not worried about it.
Okay, we'll just leave it as it is, and then if we need to change it when November rolls around, we can do that. So,
Sounds great.
And then as far as the content, Elisa and I had already kind of chatted in the email about there's 3 of us, and we have to have 3 problems each time, 3 issues or problems. So if each one of us will take a problem and come up with 4 possible solutions and do a write-up and then submit it to whoever's going to put the paper together, that person will have to do an introduction and a summary at the end and do the bibliography. But unfortunately, because our group is small, we don't have the luxury, I think, of having only one person put the paper together. Like he said, oh, one person should put it all together. They shouldn't have to do any of the research. But I think since there's 3 of us, that's just how it's going to work out. So you guys okay with that?
I had an idea about that, per se.
What's that?
On our write-ups, I mean, I'm not sure how you guys normally do this, but I usually will open up the sample he's provided, and I'll format, I'll structure and format the same way as the example.
Yeah.
If we do that in our write-ups, the person putting it together should have very little work to do, because then it will already be formatted and structured well. It'll just be a matter of organizing them and then sorting out the big, copy and pasting our references down. But if we, at the get-go, we do the same structure and the same, fonts and whatnot, it should make it really easy for whoever's doing the group leader that week.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we have to put together a summary or an introduction and a summary.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that sounds great. What was that?
I was just, it should make it easier if we start off on kind of the same footing from the beginning. That way our paper is less disjointed.
Good.
Yes, that sounds great. Great idea. We need to minimize as much as we can.
That yet, so I will look at the sample and see what it looks like. But that sounds
It's pretty intense.
Yeah, it's pretty laid out. Just you got your issue, and you write 1 paragraph describing your problem, and then you write 4 more paragraphs for each of your 4 solutions. So pretty much each person will be writing 5 paragraphs for their topic. And so like we learned in our group meeting, we have 3 topics. We have week 3, 4, and 5 that will be included in week 5. So I figured each of us could choose which. You guys have a preference, which one you want to do this time? It'd be nice if we just know now.
I know they said it was teamwork, diversity, and sexual harassment, or laws. Is that right?
Let me see. Where did my thing go? So this week I have teams, and then week 4 it was equal opportunity laws and diversity, and week 5 was equal opportunity laws and sexual harassment. So I'll take teams, since this was my week to be the group leader. Maybe that's what we should do. The week that you're the group leader. So if you guys are okay with that. So Elisa, you would have the content from week 4, which was diversity, and Michael, sexual harassment. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that should be fine.
That
Great.
makes it a little bit easier. Okay.
Okay, maybe I can breathe. All right, great.
Okay, can you guys still see me? I feel on my screen, I'm totally delayed.
Oh, you're good. I can see everything. Everything's fine on my side.
Okay. All right. Hoping that I don't cut out here. Okay, so if we have that, I don't think we need to talk about the actual case study, right? I haven't even read the whole case study. I looked at it, but that's next on the list.
There's a lot of problems, so
yeah, it better be, because we have to talk about a lot of problems. So
so that's great.
I'm trying to do the math. I'm like, how is this paper going to be 10 pages?
Yeah, 5,000 words. I don't know.
That's what I'm most worried about. I think that sounds.
It sounds huge. It does.
Very, I don't know. I'm like cut to the chase, but
I don't know about you guys, but I'm a little bit leery of this course structure. I'm not super impressed at this point. But
yeah, I noticed today, and I emailed or I texted Brother Bonnie about it. There's no place in iLearn to submit our papers. Not yet.
Really?
Like I looked ahead at week 5, and there's a place, there's instructions, but there's not a place to submit the paper. So he said he was going to have them fix that. So hopefully by the time we turn in the paper, there's a place to submit it. Otherwise, maybe we'll just be emailing it to him, but there's no reminder, like, you got to turn in the paper. So that's why I didn't know what time the paper was due, because there wasn't an assignment for the paper. So he did say it is 8 a.m. Mountain Time, Monday morning. So to me, I just try to make that Saturday night, because
same here.
For me, it's 7 a.m. I'm not going to get up and finish writing a paper early Monday morning. So, so yeah, back to our little thing, just making sure as far as submitting our content to each other, you guys think Wednesday is the week before the paper's due? Is that fair? Is that enough time to put the paper together, or should we just make it Thursday by our meeting time, or?
I'm kind of thinking maybe Wednesday would be our preliminary, because as we meet together, it might be nice to have already read what everyone else is doing and then talk about anything that we need to clarify or.
That sounds good. So we'll just say like by Wednesday night, maybe Wednesday night.
Yeah, that's my thought. Anyway.
No, that sounds good. We'll just keep it at Wednesday then.
So you're talking Wednesday in week 4?
Yes.
No, it would be Wednesday of week 5.
5 due.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the paper's due at the end of week 5 or the beginning of week 6, as I like to think of it. Yeah, so it would be Wednesday night of week 5, so that when we meet together on Thursday of week 5, we, like Elisa said, we can talk about it and see if there's anything we need to clear up before the person writing the paper, putting it together, if they have any questions. So, okay. All right, well, that sounds good. You guys ready to move on to our next, what is it? The Army Crew Team?
Sure.
Let me see. Let me find the right. And thank you, Elisa, for steering me in the right direction. I was confused. I couldn't find the end of the case, and then she told me, and there's group leader responsibilities. Oh.
And there's a lot, so yeah.
System. So, okay, let's see. Oops, I don't have my content pulled up. Hold on one second.
Michael, what other classes are you taking right now?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot of classes.
Are you guys both, are you healthcare administration? Elisa, you are, right?
No, I'm not. Business is one of my clusters, so.
Oh, you're doing clusters. Okay.
I'll be graduating this semester from business management.
Good.
Business management.
Well,
Okay.
then you have a lot of experience, so we'll need to depend on you.
I've read this case 4 times, so.
Good.
You've read it for other classes?
That much. Yeah, I've been through this case a bunch of times for a lot of classes. It's a popular one.
Oh, well, that's kind of a bummer that they don't switch it up a little bit. Or maybe it's better. I don't know.
Well, I will say,
So many cases.
yeah, I read the case. I took lots of notes. I went to take the quiz, and the questions that were asked were nothing that I took notes on. And I had to go back and read, and anyway, I was focused on something completely different than what the quiz was asking. And oh well.
I think the quiz was just trying to find out if we actually read it, and they asked.
Well, it doesn't show that I read it. It was, anyway, that's how it goes.
I missed one. I don't even remember which one it was, but.
So whatever. Yeah, it's done. I'm sure Michael got it 100% because you read it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. Sorry, my computer's being really slow. Okay, here we go. My part 1. Now, I think it gives us timeline. I don't think we're going to spend 15 or 20 minutes talking about each, especially since there's only 3 of us. I know I am not a huge talker. I don't have a lot to say, so you guys are gonna have to drag stuff out of me. Let's see. So, but if Michael's done it, then that's good. He can help us. So I'm just gonna go through the questions and we can talk about it and our conclusions at the end. So, and just jump in or tell me to skip that one, or I don't know. I'm just gonna follow the little outline.
Hey, that'll work perfect.
Okay, number one is, did the varsity members engage in too much conflict? Oh, wait a minute. Are these the same questions that are listed? Hold on one second. Because there were some questions, like just questions, not in the group leader questions, but just questions.
They might be. No.
Group discussion on the Army crew team. No, because this says, why does the varsity team lose to the JV team? Okay, so this is different. What is that, part 3? Okay, well, we'll just go through this. All right, so did the varsity members engage in too much conflict? And what was the conflict about? And is there an appropriate place for conflict among the members of the varsity crew or any team? Let me just split my screen.
I felt like that they engaged in conflict a long time when their season was ending. I mean, they've got an ending point where they really needed to work this out a little bit more quickly. So it seemed to me that it dragged on longer than it maybe needed to. And they needed to figure out a solution more quickly.
Or maybe like they didn't recognize that there was a, I mean, they obviously, they probably knew there were problems, but maybe they didn't think they were problems. Oh, we're fine, we're strong, we can get through this. But they just didn't, they didn't get to the, cut to the chase soon enough. Yeah, you're right. They waited too long till the very end.
Yeah.
So just so we're all on the same page, what was their conflict about?
For the varsity rowers?
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like the varsity rowers is a whole boat full of big egos. Every single one's like, I'm the best, and there was this whole culture where being individually the best was more important than the team being the best. Oh, well, we lost their boat and it's your fault. You know, we casting the blame everywhere. There's no unity, and it's a team sport.
Yeah.
How on earth are they going to win a race?
Yeah. I think they started nitpicking and it just escalated. So one person got frustrated, and instead of someone else helping resolve that, it was just built upon and built upon and built upon, and to the point where clearly they were decreasing in speed. So I'm pretty sure they knew that there was a problem, but I think that they each wanted to take ownership of making it better or go faster upon themselves, not upon as a team as a whole. So
that doesn't work. I mean, it doesn't help the team if they just try to better themselves if the whole team isn't getting better together.
Well, I think clearly, like the next question, there's always going to be conflict of some sort, whether small or big. Conflict sometimes gives energy and, gives that sense of competition. So, conflict can be a positive thing, but it did seem to escalate with their egos being so large. Definitely made was a huge problem. So.
In the notes here, are you looking at it too, Elisa? The notes I'm looking at it. It says that scholars identify 2 types of team conflict, which is task conflict, where people disagree about the task to be accomplished, and then also affective conflict, where people have interpersonal conflict, where people get frustrated and angry with one another. So it's important to remember those two different types of conflict that can happen. And then when you have both of them going on, it's double. So which type, at this point in the case, in the beginning, what kind of conflict is going on with the varsity team? Or is it both of them? What do you think? The task conflict? Or?
I think they understood their task. I think they knew they needed to win and that their speed needed to go. They were working individually to train. But I think it was a definite interpersonal conflict. They weren't getting along as a team. That team building wasn't happening. It was destroying their abilities. So,
I mean, so that's the effective conflict, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely had a task conflict to begin with, and they developed a whole lot of effective conflict as they went.
Right.
By the end, they had plenty of both going on.
Alrighty, well, moving on, and I like this part in the reading when they talked about trust. So what role did trust play in the problems varsity crew faced? Because sometimes you don't think about that. I mean, I watch the Olympics, and I watch the rowing teams, and I go, oh, that looks nice, that looks fun. That doesn't look too hard. And then you read about everything that goes into it and all of the coordinating that they have to do, and they have to be so precise. I just thought it was very interesting that I didn't know that it was, I didn't know that when you messed up, you would think that other people would need to compensate for your failures, but in this sport, it's no, you have to trust that your team member is going to fix their issue.
I think there's a lot of trust, especially in this sport, where they need to trust that the guy, whoever's beating their time, is hitting right on the dot, so that they're going to be able to maximize their efficiency. And they need to be able to trust each other that if, like you were saying, if one person stumbles, the rest of the team needs to trust him to get back to it and not try to match with him or not try to fix it on their own. Everybody has to trust everybody else to be doing exactly, to be able to stay on that beat. And if they're not trusting each other and doing their best to match up to that tune, if everyone's just going to pull to their own, pull at their own pace, then the whole thing is not going to work. They're never going to be able to be very fast.
I think it's interesting that this case in particular is about an Army crew. You think of, the things that they train for and the missions that they accomplish. It seems very similar with a crew team, where they've got to trust the other guy to accomplish what he's supposed to do. And if they don't trust him, then they're putting themselves in danger, where the crew team is not quite as life-threatening, obviously. But I think it's an interesting comparison for them that they really needed to learn to trust others around them to make the whole mission succeed, or the crew team succeed, instead of worrying about their individual success, because that would never, and that's going to harm them in the end in their career path in the Army. So I think in this case, trust becomes enormous. It's a huge learning curve for them. They obviously trusted themselves much more than they trusted anyone else.
Well, I think honestly the coaching staff inadvertently kind of created this situation where this happened. You'll notice that this coach, he does an extremely good job of taking times of doing everything he can do to track an individual's performance. Mm-hmm. He has them race each other specifically. He keeps track of their individual weights. He keeps track of their individual times. Everything he does is focused towards determining who is individually the best. Yeah. And so to me, it's no shock. I mean, I understand that he needs to do that because he wants to get his 6 strongest guys in the boat, but at the same time, he puts such a focus on individual success that it kind of comes as no surprise to me when the players themselves are focused on their individual success rather than on their group effort.
And it seemed like that maybe in the past that had worked because the personalities of the team were able to pull together despite what he was doing, and where these individuals saw that more of competition amongst each other instead of competition as a whole. So I think he could have switched that and definitely changed the ball.
It definitely seems inadvertent, but at the end, this is the problem that's created and the challenge that they had to overcome. And it was really the individualistic view that's dragging them down, because every time he switches people out of the boat or puts one of the varsity guys with the JV guys, the times increase. Like he did absolutely identify the strongest rowers with his, with his training and his methods. And he pretty well proved that. So yeah, you've got the 6 strongest rowers in your boat, and yet they go slower together.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just crazy how much the individual was stressed in the team sport to find those 6 strongest rowers.
Right. Instead of matching them up with abilities that will influence and help each other, he matched them up as an individually. Yeah, trying to do their best.
So I think what would have helped is, he kind of comes into this case new to the team. And what I think would have helped is if he didn't have to spend so much time identifying these stronger individuals, if he'd been more familiar in the beginning. And then, obviously you're going to do some stuff. You want players to have a goal to individually perform, but then he could have focused a lot more on team drills, on team effort, on team coordination, on it, developing a culture where the team matters more than the individual success. And I think that would have helped a lot of these problems to not have developed to the extent that they did. But I think what really is proved is, at the end of this case, what resolves everything is them having the fight, getting it out, being able to overcome some of this contention that's built up. So I think that really points at the fact that there's no way to really for the players to, in a healthy way, address the issues that are going on. I mean, if it comes to the point where your players need to fight it out to be able to overcome their problems, then things have been building up for too long, right?
Yeah. Well, I liked your point that, in the beginning, he should have been maybe looking at building relationships with him individually with the other players to get to know them and understand their strengths and their weaknesses as a person. And then have, the team members be doing the same thing. So it sounds like because he was only focused on the strength of the individual, he missed that building of the interpersonal relationships that become so important in teamwork.
And I think what you're talking about leads into the next section that talks about what the coach could have done differently. And one question is, when do you think he should have intervened? And what should he have done? You've already talked about how maybe in the beginning he needed to get to know his players better, but when in my reading, I guess maybe I didn't think deeply enough, but my thought was, as soon as the players started having these little conflicts, he should have intervened. But I think definitely, like you guys are saying, it probably should have happened a lot sooner. He maybe would have foreseen the conflicts that could come and.
Hey, stop. I'm sorry. My dog. Hey, Randy.
My dog may join in.
Mine's asleep right here, so I think we're still okay. Well, I thought it was interesting in the hangout from last night how one of those ladies shared that she thought that they should have the crew members should have resolved that or noticed that sooner, tried to resolve. And so in extending that period of time was a learning experience for them. But I didn't know that I agreed completely. I felt like that there would be more that they could have done along the way that would have taught them. I don't know. That was an interesting insight I hadn't thought of.
I understand as a coaching staff why you hesitate to step in. I mean, I've been on a lot of sports teams. I love playing sports. It's so fun. And these kind of issues tend to work themselves out. Everybody wants to succeed. Teams want to succeed. You spend all that time together. And, yeah, of course, you're always going to have conflict. But at the same time, most of the time the conflict resolved itself in these kind of teams a lot of times, unless something like absolutely crazy is going on. But I'd say your typical team playing games together has the goal to work together, and most people can figure it out. Like, it's not typically something that's going to just bust the entire team open and never work out. I think honestly one of the main reasons that didn't happen is because they kept doing the races against the JV boat, and they had so much pressure on themselves. And I mean, we played JV in basketball and different stuff when I played, and obviously you don't want to lose to the JV, and usually it's not even a question. I mean, you have all the more skilled players, but I can imagine if we had lost to the JV that it would have been really embarrassing. And so the varsity team just barely being able to beat the JV boat, it just aggravated everything, and it caused this culture where we want to cast blame on everybody else. And so I just, as a coach, I can see why you're hesitant to step in. You don't want to try to come in and solve everyone's interpersonal problems, and a lot of these things do work themselves out. And I think that with this situation with the JV boat, where there's, the guys are the best rowers and they're feeling humiliated, and it's causing a stress that's making it difficult for the players to just work it out on their own. So I don't know, as a coaching staff, I think it'd be really hard to be like, okay, it's time for me to step in and force you guys to play nice. Like, I can definitely see why they would have struggled and hesitated.
Do you think that the varsity players got defensive probably when the coach started switching them up and like, oh, let's try and find out who's the problem?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's that whole culture of it's individual success and individual rower strength that counts the most. And yes, somebody here's the problem. So I gotta say that probably didn't help things at all.
And the fact that he was asking emails to please let me know what the problem is, I thought, you're going about this in a very unpersonal way when you're trying to get them to be personal and expecting something that can't happen. And that didn't make a whole lot of sense. It was more of a frenzy, a feeding frenzy of complaints than it was of actually.
It's not my fault. It's his. It's everyone else's.
Yeah. I mean, the way he set it up didn't seem to me as a coach. I mean, I see a coach as someone that mentors, that maybe doesn't intervene, maybe that's the wrong word, but has that relationship with a player or a crew member that is struggling with whatever it is, and there's that relationship that you can talk to, trying to help them solve it or help them feel better about what they're doing instead of pairing them up, making them feel worse. Yeah, it didn't make sense.
Well, it comes back to this whole guy's coaching style, where he's obviously got some serious skills as a coach in rowing technique and understanding how to build individual rowers, and the guy is extremely good with his numbers. Like, as you read this case, like, what staggered me is what coach keeps such detailed and accurate numbers on all of his players to this degree. I mean, a very performance-driven individual, obviously, and he's really keyed into keeping track of statistics and giving players an opportunity to see exactly what they're doing and where they can perform and improve. And so he's got these skills as a coach, but where he really lacks is he clearly isn't interfacing all that well individually with the players. Like, a coach that has a relationship with his players would be more in tune to the conflicts that are arising in between them. Like you said, where he's emailing guys to ask them who's the problem, like that is not something a skilled interpersonal coach does at any point.
That they trusted him as the coach. I wondered if that was a part of the problem too. If he wasn't having that relationship with them and seeing time after time him causing more conflict amongst them, I would think that he probably isn't as trusted by them, which means that if they can't trust the coach, who are they supposed to take guidance from?
Well, I think that's a really solid point. I mean, how much trust do you feel like the coach has in you if you feel like you're going to get kicked out of the varsity boat because your time's slow? All of the players are like, are we going to put it on JV? Is he just going to put the JV boat into varsity? Like, how, I mean, you think about your job. If you don't have any job security, it's kind of a nerve-wracking thing when there's conflicts and people are pointing fingers at you. Well, no one wants to be kicked off the varsity team because somebody says that they're the reason that, the boat's going slower. It's this whole culture, and it comes back to what you said earlier about where he's switching people out and putting them on the JV boat and trying other people in, and it comes back to one of you guys is the problem sort of culture, and you're going to lose your spot as soon as we figure out what's going on. There's that. I think that does have to hurt your position of trust with the coach. You can't feel like you can trust him. I mean, that'd be nerve-wracking to me to feel like my position is always
at risk,
and I can lose my seat to a JV rower anytime just because our team's not meshing.
Yeah. Interesting.
Let me see. What else do we have here?
Maybe go to
part 3.
Yeah.
If we didn't already know what the end of the case was, did you have any thoughts of what he should do?
I keep thinking that sometimes the team building or conflicts arise when the only relationship you have with someone is at the competition level. And so that competition fuels more frustration in this case. I wondered if they needed to be doing something outside of just their routine of constant practice. If he needed to, which he kind of did,
bonding
in a way, but a bonding or an exercise of get it all out, which he did, or something. I think that's what I would have recommended. He needs to look at, past this on the water competition. What can we do to improve the relationship between the people? So.
Well, and I think it's interesting. I mean, I don't know what qualifications this coach had. I mean, we know he was a coach, but what other training? And I think coaches, maybe not every coach, not every little soccer coach, but I think, and we're learning this in business classes too, is that there's a psychological aspect to these things that they probably need some training. One of my classes, reading the 7 Habits and, things like that. Like the coaches, they can't just know about the sport and the statistics and things like that they need to understand their players on a psychological level. So, or they need to bring in the team psychologist to take over for that.
Yeah, I think he did. He tried to get outside sources to help, but it seemed that his outside sources were a lecture instead of a piece puzzling, puzzling the pieces, the puzzling. Anyway, whatever it is, something like that. I think he was trying. I think this was obviously a hard group of men that he was dealing with as well. So
I was just thinking, I went back and pulled up a paper that I wrote the first time I went through this case. And we actually had to answer this question prior to knowing what happened. And some of the thoughts that I had on what they could do is basically he needs to force them to confront the issues that they have with each other. You made the point before that they're an Army, this is an Army team. These guys train and drill and are preparing to possibly have to put one another's lives into each other's hands. I mean, if he can't leverage that to help build some teamwork with these guys, he, nothing ever would be able to.
Yeah.
So I basically put that he needs to understand that the current team culture cannot be successful. He needs to be a leader and show the rowers how to start changing their attitude. And the way he needs to do that is he needs to get rid of for right now, probably get rid of the JV varsity race. He needs to help these guys know that they're secure in their spots on the boat. And he needs to help force these guys to confront the issues that they have with each other. And once some of these grudges are settled and respect is, begun to be built between the rowers themselves, then they can start to change the culture, this culture of individual success. And I think he honestly needs to have like I don't know. Did you guys ever watch Remember the Titans movie?
Yeah.
Where they take him, he takes the players to Gettysburg, and they have a moment to like be like, oh yeah, this is just.
I just watched that clip. Was that for this class or was it for one of my other classes?
Oh really?
I can't keep track.
You need to remember the Titans moment with these guys. Because remind them that, hey, like, come on, you guys work together every day. You're a crew. You're preparing to possibly go into combat with one another. This is a rowing team. Like, let's have some perspective here. You guys are the strongest rowers. If you work together, you can dominate. You know, he needs to have this moment with them and have a chance for them to have some respect for each other.
Yep.
And then they'll be able to do well. And what he did is he had them fist fight each other. I don't know if I would have thought of that, but it worked out pretty good for him. So well played.
And one of the things that I had written down as we were talking is that those rumors that were constantly going on and circulating after each practice had really presented some huge disrespect problems for each other and for the coaching staff, for the other team. I mean, all of it. It just seemed to be he needed to take control of it. I would have taken control of it sooner, but that's me. And I don't know. Maybe
Knock it off. Never open the blinds because the dog likes to bark at people if they go by. He's totally quiet all day, but if someone walks past the window, he's got to be annoying. Hey, you don't need to bark at people.
So as far as if that response worked, his response of fighting, I don't. It obviously worked to a point where they were able to get rid of that energy, but
I think it just kind of brought him back to reality.
Yeah.
Having that chance to kind of get some of the initial frustration out and be like, okay, we're and you got to remember, I don't know that would have worked as well on every team, but I mean, these guys are probably actually used to hand-to-hand training all the time, and they know how to fight without hurting each other. So I think that probably plays a bit into this as to that being an okay way to resolve this, sort of. But whatever it was, it allowed them to develop a little respect.
What do you think would be an alternative for like a business situation where we're not going to put on the boxing gloves or whatever?
Write a 5,000-page paper every 3 weeks.
You have to get along to do that.
Come on.
Seriously, I can't even believe this writing assignments. They're unreal. I mean, what teacher would actually want to grade this?
I don't know.
I can't fathom.
Yeah, I don't know that it's his favorite either because he didn't write the course, but I know he keeps reminding us, you don't have tests in this class. I'd rather take a test.
I would way rather take a test. I'll take any number of tests.
I have Business 321, Organizational Effectiveness. Have either of you taken that?
That's
I don't have to take that one.
I'm taking that right now, and
every week.
I cannot keep these two classes straight. I'm like, which case study are we talking about? How many?
You'll do Army Crew in that one too. So.
Oh crap!
That's one of the ones I had it in.
Oh, I'm not. Anyway, I don't like any of them, so that's where I'm at.
Well, it sounds like we're gonna have one to talk about every week, I think.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We'll get through it.
I think we can skip down to part 5 if you want to. I think
we're about done. So what is the most important thing you learned from this case? I'll just read off the questions. You can think about it. What's the most important thing you learned from this case? What is your overall rating of the quality of today's discussion, 0 to 10? What did I do as a discussion? I didn't read over these questions ahead of time. And what can I do better next time? Because I'll be doing it again in 3 weeks because there's only 3 of us. Some groups are only going to have to do it like once. So
if that. Yeah. I think I learned mostly that how important, and not that I didn't realize this before with other experiences, but that relationship between the coach and the players, I think really could have been strengthened. That would have then helped the interpersonal relationships between the team. And I think that for me was reinforced the most. that involves the trust factor, all of those things. So respect. So that's kind of what stood out to me, I guess I should say.
We kind of have a little situation in our family right now. My son is on the JV water polo team. He's a junior. He just started playing last year. He doesn't do any outside water polo. He just does it at school because he likes it and he has friends on the team, and it's a no-cut sport. So, he gets to play. But this year he has a different coach than last year, but he didn't go to the summer training because he was gone. My son was gone for like 4 weeks this summer, different high adventures and family vacations and EFY. And so he didn't do the summer training. So he shows up at the beginning of the school year, and this coach knows a lot of the other kids, but he didn't know my son. And for the first 4 weeks of practice, the coach didn't even know my son's name. And the first game I went to watch, I'm like, he doesn't even know your name. He points at him and says, "You." And it wasn't until my son was playing and like people in the crowd were going, "Go, Chad. Go. Oh, good job, Chad." Then the coach was like, "Oh, I know his name." But up to that point, my son had no respect for this coach. He was like, he's just like lazy and, he's not very personable. But now it's getting better. He knows his name, and I don't know. They just have a little bit better of a relationship. But it was hard to watch him go through that because he was just like, this is really lame. Do I want to keep doing this? And I'm like, just go tell him your name. He's like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
You spend 3 hours today, every day together, and you don't know his name. I mean, he had to know a lot of kids' names, but anyways, it's just coach and players. I don't know. They need to work together.
Yeah. Yeah. I do. I think that relationship thing is really interesting. But I did the HR interview, and that was something that she had just gone over and over again is, you can't manage someone that you don't have a relationship with, because then it just comes across as a heavy hand, no matter if it's a good or a bad thing. So that relationship is important. So.
Well, Michael, did you have any final thoughts for us?
I guess my key takeaway, and it's been reinforced this time around, but my key takeaway for this course is the importance of culture. It's kind of it's not as easily measured, and this coach was all about measurements. And I think if you're just looking at the numbers, this coach did everything right. He was brilliant at showing players how to do better individually. I mean, as far as individual rowing skill goes, he was excellent, and he knew how to show players exactly where they were and what things to do to get better. So on paper, this coach seemed to be amazing. He got his strongest 6 guys in the right boat. He was able to show those players exactly how to improve individually. And so on paper, their team should have been incredible, but there was a cultural issue that isn't as visible as the numbers. And I think it goes to show you just how critical it is to have a culture of success. You can do everything right on paper and still fail because you have a bad culture. And so for me, that's the big takeaway, is to understand what kind of a culture you're creating, what kind of messages your actions are sending, and try to make sure you're sending the right actions or sending the right messages.
Yeah, good thought.
Okay, well, that sounds great.
Yeah. So one to 10, give it a 10. We did awesome today.
I was going to say, just really quick expectations going forward.
Yeah.
So just to make sure my understanding's right, when I was watching that, so it sounds like our paper, it's all going to be done on that doohickeys case. And I mean, for next week, what kind of stuff do you guys want to have done? I mean, obviously, I think we should have all read the case, maybe picked out our problem sort of deal. Like, what do you guys want to try to have done by that next meeting?
I think that's a good idea. We know which problem we're taking. Like, I'm doing teams, and
maybe really outline the problem that we're over, so that we can maybe discuss.
That way we can kind of get tips from one another, a different viewpoint, because you guys will probably see stuff that I don't see.
Right.
So that would be helpful. So you guys want to try to just have a basic outline on what kind of thoughts our thought process will be for our write-up, and that way we can just ask for advice.
We can maybe even come up with our paragraph that describes our problem. Although, Michael, we won't have gone over your content yet. That will be the following week. But, you know, if you want to look ahead there. What was that?
I think hopefully I understand enough about sexual harassment. I'll be able to pick out some
I forgot that was your topic.
But yeah, I think that sounds really great. I just kind of want to have a basic understanding of where we ought to be. That way, you know, we come into next week and we'll have made progress.
Yeah, that's good.
I do have one other quick comment.
And a little snippet about the direction we're headed with what we know, kind of thing.
That sounds good to me. I think that's a great place to start for the first week.
Yeah.
You guys are good with that?
Well, that helps me get moving on it too, which that will help. So.
Right.
I do have one other comment. Usually in the group stuff, there's some element of peer review or where you have to rate your group or whatever else. I just want you guys to know my policy on that is I plan on giving you guys full marks at every point. I feel like we all want to do well, and I hate it when you do group work and somebody just give you a terrible grade and never even talk to you. You have no idea what you even did to offend this person.
Yeah, I agree.
So for these group things, what I do is my standard is everybody gets 100%, and then if somebody isn't participating, you don't show up to the groups, then obviously you don't get any points. That's like my whole thing on this is it's all or nothing. Also, I do the same thing with when they have you grade yourself. If I did it and I feel like I tried to do it, then I'm going to give myself 100%. And if the teacher has a problem with that, then he can grade me. If he's going to have me grade myself, then he's going to accept that. Like, I'm here to do my best to learn the stuff, to get it. I mean, I want to get a good grade, obviously. I'm trying to go into pre-med school, so I've been taking all the prereqs for that on the side. And I've got too much class to bother with it. If you got a problem with me, just tell me what it is and I'll do better. I just want to do my best. I'm trying to get A's in these classes. I'm doing ridiculous amounts of homework. Yeah. And I'm going to give you guys full marks unless you don't show up. And that's the way I kind of operate. So. And
I think I think if there's a reason not to give 100%, then we better say why we wouldn't, or approach the person.
You know, I think people
help me out, but otherwise.
I just so you know, just for your own information, you're not going to get dogged on some kind of peer review from me without at least knowing why. So that's just how I operate with these online courses. I don't do a whole lot of them, but I've been doing a lot more. And for some reason, we do way more group work in online courses than I've ever done in an actual course.
It's ridiculous.
It's and frustrating. And there's always some douche that doesn't do anything. So, you know, or, you know, and I've had a lot of experiences where there's some person that does that. And I'm like, oh, great. So now I'm going to have a hard time getting an A in this class. I need to ace a final exam because somebody had some issue with the group, I guess. I don't know.
I think that's maybe a good thing why we've got these three of us. I would hope that we're all giving our best and we take that at face value. Whatever the best is you're doing is, you know, or what I'm giving is going to be what I can give, which will be the best that I can offer. So
well, that's exactly why I have this attitude is if you're here and you tried, you submitted something, I don't care if you're not a great writer. I'm a terrible writer. So sorry to you guys, but that's my weakness in school. It's the very worst thing I'm at. I do it. I've gotten A's in my English classes due to sheer blood, sweat, and tears, but I'm terrible at it. It's what I'm not good at. But I will try. I'll be here. I'll give my best. And if you guys do that, then that's all I care about. As far as I'm concerned, any of that peer stuff, I'll give you full marks.
Yeah, just survive it. Great. Are you good with that, Heather?
Oh, yeah. That sounds great. My last semester, I had a group of 3, and there were 2 of us that did all of the work, and that's
how it goes.
It was nice that we had each other, but there was the one that, you know, she was too busy for us, and it's like, oh, you feel bad.
Those experiences are so frustrating.
So it looks, I'm happy. I think we are all kind of on the same page, and the papers are pretty much divided up into 3 sections. So when there's 3 of us, that makes it really easy that we all just pull our weight. Nobody's, oh, I have to go write this for you because you didn't do it. I think we're all kind of in the same place where we want to pull our weight. And
I'm not going there. No.
I've got to be honest with you. It looks to me like this course, as long as we complete the assignments and we give it a good effort, we should be able to get an A in this class.
Yeah, and that's what he said.
They're not worth enough points to knock you out. So as long as we do our best on them, We complete them. We try to hit the requirements. Unless he's an absolute jerk on the grading, which I don't think he's going to be, we should be fine. So I plan on just following the example he's given us the best I can. I'll structure it like that, and I'll write up my responses like that. I'll try to be prolific, which is hard for me in writing, but evidently he values content, so we'll beat the horse till it's dead, and we'll keep beating it, and and I guess I'm sure that'll be fine. If you're doing the rest of the work, it sounds like you'll be just fine. Hopefully, I don't drag our group paper down too much.
Hopefully, we're all open to feedback, and if you feel that I could correct something or see something that I would be open for that to help contribute a little bit better. So
I'm just going to say this up front. If you see any problems in my work, feel free to say something. I'll do my best to fix it. I already know I'm not a great writer. My wife was an English major, so she'll check my grammar, but if you guys see something, don't hesitate to point it out. I'm not going to take offense at any point. You can tell me I'm a terrible writer, and it's not going to hurt my feelings. I'll just try to fix it. So you don't have to worry about approaching me if you see anything you want changed.
Sounds good. Okay, so
sounds like we have a good team.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for being awesome and being here on time and setting things up and having a great schedule already planned. So far, I'm pretty impressed with the caliber of the group. And I'll see you next week.
Sounds perfect.
Okay. Elisa, you're going to do it next week?
I will do it next week and just plan on same time.
Yeah, this time is good for me.
Okay.
That's what we'll plan next week. Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you.
Okay, good luck with everything.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
I'm going to stop the broadcast.
Bye-bye.